So when we're talking about ISO 4201 aims, okay, before we move to what is 4201 and all that, we need to understand one important thing is that what is AI? What is ML? Because I have seen a lot of students, even they did this certification of 4201, but they are not very clear with the basics. So pardon me if I start from zero. Is it okay? So when we're talking about AI, so what is AI? When we're talking about AI is about artificial intelligence. Okay. I'm not sure whether you get a recording, but let's get started. So when you talk about AI is all about a think like a human. Okay. And it's all about think like a human to perform the activity like a human. That is called as a AI. I'm sure everyone know this concept, right? Like chat GPT, okay, chatbots, they answers like a human. So that's why we say AI refer to a computer system engineered to emulate the human intelligence, capable of performing tasks that are typically required the human cognitive ability. Now, when we're talking about AI have a core capability. Some AI work on the learning, they acquire knowledge, skill from the data. Some AI work on the reasoning, which is actually introduced to solve the problem. Some AI introduced to solve the problems, and some AI talk about the perception. Perception is all about interpreting the sensory data, image, and speech. Nowadays, if you take an example of ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, I'm sure you can upload the image in that. You can provide the audio instructions, and based on that, they provide you the data pointers. So nowadays, we have a core capability which is went to the problem solving and perception. Now, when we're talking about AI, we have a two type of AI, narrow AI and general AI. Narrow AI is excel at specific tasks like facial recognition, language translation. This is what we primarily use today. So if you're preparing for a certification like AIGP, AISM also, this is a very important topic. You should know what is narrow AI. So, and second is basically called as a general AI, which is a hypothetical AI, which is a human level intelligence, adapt across the various tasks, capable of learning, applying the intelligence broadly. But nowadays, everywhere what you see the narrow AI only. But we are not here to understand what is this. We are going to understand about the important component in the AI is first is called as a artificial intelligence, a machine who think like a human. But question is how? He use a brain. The brain is called as a machine learning. Okay, machine learning. Now machine learning is further think like a two-way, supervised or unsupervised. I'm not here to discuss that. There's a dedicated AI governance topic we have. Now under the machine learning, one of the model we have called deep learning AI. Okay, we have called as a deep learning AI. So deep learning AI is a important component of machine learning. And under the deep learning AI, we have a generative AI. Today, if you take an example of ChatGPT, ChatGPT is a perfect example of generative AI. You enter the prompt, you get the things. But traditionally, when you talk about AI ML, if you tell the AI about, if you tell the AI that this is the cat, they will say this is the dog. Okay, if you tell them this is the rat, they will show this is the dog. But generative AI not only recognize but also design the cat for you. Today, infographic, mind mapping, everything is done by the generative AI. So that something is basically part of a requirement. So now the question is, AI is a very good thing for the human productivity, and I'm sure everyone agree with that, right? Yes or no? When you talk about AI, is actually enhancing the human productivity. But AI without governance, without control, is called as a spoiled kid. AI without control, considered as a spoiled kid, right? So it's very important that we need to have a proper control over the AI. So when we're talking about AI, okay, we have some concern with AI. The first concern is biasness and fairness. Okay, biasness, fairness mean giving a you ask them some questions, or you are using the AI for the resume search, or you're using for ATS. ATS basically mean finding a CVs by automations and all that. And that ATS or that software is only providing, okay, it basically providing the services, it providing the information to a one particular demography. Am I clear? If you take example of biasness and fairness, example like it will filter the CV of females only, or it filters the CV of male only. So is it a biasness or it is unbiasedness? We are looking for a candidate, but AI is only and only providing the CVs of the males. But yes, for that job, females can be also work, right? So biasness is there. Okay, there's no fairness, which is a concern. How can we handle that? We can do regular audit. We can have a diverse data sets. Diverse data set, instead of having a database of only female, we should have a database of male. Then only we can able to provide the fair judgment. Okay, so by this we mitigate the things. So biasness and fairness countermeasure is basically you need to have a diverse database. If you have a diverse database, based on that, you can able to provide the good opinion. You can have a regular audit, and more important, you can mitigate the things. Second thing is that when you're developing AI, sometimes AI producing a misinformation. Is it clear? Even for AI GP, it will work. So it providing a misinformation. So what is the countermeasure? We need to have a restricted sensitive application. We need to have a fact checking systems and all that. Third is that sometime AI you are using to generate the product key, generating images. I'm sure you heard about recently in the Twitter. The app is called as a Grok. They're giving instruction to Grok remove the clothes and all that. So AI has been misused there. So make sure you should have a proper content filtering. You need to have a responsible usage guideline, and sometimes AI producing an output without any transparency. So do you know one thing which can solve all this issue? By having a proper governance. And how can we achieve the governance? By introducing a system. And what is a system? AIMS, Artificial Intelligence Management System, which talk about the control process and everything by which we can able to address all these issues. Is the context is clear so far? So AI governance is all about establishing a framework for policies, process, controls. What? To guide the responsible deployment and operation of AI. To prevent the biasness, maintain the fairness, having a proper transparency, explainability, we can achieve with the help of implementing the AIMS. Is it clear? Definitely, definitely, Joydeep, we're going to cover that. So AI governance talk about how you manage the risk while using AI. It works on the 5 principles: maintain the accountability, transparency, fairness, ensure the safety, compliance, and balance your innovations and responsibility. Now, when we say balance the innovation responsibility, it means that, okay, they will provide the output in such a way that it maintain the privacy also. And along with that, it provide the respective output also. Is it clear? But question is how? So remember, team, when initially ChatGPT introduced, you enter a random prompt and you get a lot of sensitive information, right? ChatGPT was introduced for providing that output, right? But what if attackers are misusing the ChatGPT, entering some malicious query and all that, and which can breach the privacy? Now they cannot block anything, they cannot stop everything. So they have to balance what? Innovations, and they want to make sure responsibly, they should provide the outcome. Okay, so we need to figure out what we need. That's where during a planning stage, we need to see how we can promote that privacy, how can we promote the transparency and everything. That's why I want to bring one important thing here: responsible AI. Now, when I say without responsible AI, what is happening? Bias historical data favors male candidates. If you have attended my previous session on AI governance, or if you have seen my YouTube video on AI governance, remember I discussed about Amazon example. 2015, Amazon was using an AI tool to filter the CVs, and they're giving a more preference to the male candidates over the female candidate. They filter the CV based on a male candidate, but it is not their mistake. But because the data set was very limited. The data set, when we're talking about, was very limited to only male, and that is why they prefer more CVs of the male. Is it clear? Is it a responsible AI or it's a non-responsible AI, where we are basically screening the candidate and they only providing the information about the male candidate? It's a non-responsible AI, right? So what is happening? Discrimination, lawsuit, and public distrust. What is my expectation? I want a responsible AI. Responsible AI mean we're doing a proper auditing, we're doing a fairness check, and by that, what happening? We're basically looking the concept of improved metrics. We're looking the diversity, and more important, we're looking for the context of trust and compliance. Am I clear? And to build the responsible AI, Okay, we need a system. That's why when I started the session, I said about there is a kid. Okay, it is a 1 year old kid. Okay, from the day one, uh, Saksham, can you just check the drawing someone is writing here? So when we're talking about the process, is it clear? So in this case, what happened is there is a kid. Okay, there's a kid who actually uh, his age is basically, let's take example 1. Okay, his age is 1. From the age 1, the parents have trained them, okay, greeting, not to abuse, how to handle the things, when anyone come, how to greet and all that. I'm sure you also been to the same, yes or no? Or whenever you basically go to any new places, before that, your parents guide you how to handle the things. Now just imagine if they don't guide, then what happen? You unnecessarily react to anyone like that. Instead of greeting, you abusing. You know that okay what to eat, but there you went and you say something else. Yeah, it called as a non-innocent kid, you can say. Is it a responsible kid, non-responsible kid? Non-responsible kid. How can we say is a good kid? The good kid mean that good parenting. And good parenting is all about setting a rules, setting a policies, discipline, and one system is there. That's how you can able to make a good kid. Same like to build a good AI, trained AI, you need to have a good rules and everything. And that's why we need a system here. And that's why we are here to understand about the AIMS. So what is the AI governance all about? Have a proper fairness, proper human oversight. So human can able to control all the inputs and all that. Live example is if you're using an AI in the healthcare, if you're using an AI in the healthcare, suppose AI we are using to diagnose the cancer and all that. Can we trust 100% on the AI tool to diagnose the cancer and giving a final decision? No. It is a bad AI governance. So in this case, what we did, we involve the human oversight. Whatever the high risk and whatever the cancer kind of a treatments we have, we need a human oversight there. Am I clear? Next is basically privacy. AI should not reveal the PI information. So AI governance ensure what to reveal, what not to reveal. Is it clear? That's something we define. Maintain the transparency. Whatever the output is generating, we need to know from what is the source, how it process and all that. And if anything happen, they should take the accountability and ensure the safety. So this all activities we can achieve with the help of AI governance. Is it clear? A set of operation by which you introducing a policy control so that you can able to define AI in a more effective manner. Am I clear? So from last 20 year, we are talking about governance. We already discussed. Okay. So the hierarchy is what? Every organization start with the vision. Okay. Something is there. The based on a vision, we have a mission to become a number one training and consulting company. Based on a mission, what we did, we create a strategy, senior management and board. When they're creating a strategy, what is that called? What is that called? Corporate governance. Now, based on a strategy, we have a tactical plan. Based on a tactical, we have a operation plan. Now, this is where we introduce a three governance. We introduce the IT, we introduce the data, and now we're introducing information security and we introduce AI governance. Am I clear? All are basically working together to see how can we support the strategy. So IT and corporate governance talking about infrastructure policy, strategic oversight. Data governance talking about source of data and accessibility data. And AI governance all about how you ensure the AI to use all this process in a more effective manner. So AI governance comes here. Is it clear? Because if you take example on a tactical level, IT will say what is required. Data governance say how to obtain. Sorry, why you need that. And AI governance talk about how to accomplish. So without IT, without AI, without data governance, you can't run the AI governance, and without data governance, you can't run the IT governance. Without that, it's nothing. So today, data is the most important foundation for the AI system. Is it clear? So that's why we need a dedicated governance on the IT. We need a dedicated governance on the data. We need dedicated governance on AI. Is it clear? And today we're going to discuss about AI governance with 4201. Now the context is clear. Now coming to the part. Now when we're talking about aims, what is aims? Artificial Intelligence Management System, a framework that enable the organization to develop, deploy, and use AI responsibility. And how can we achieve that? With the help of 4201. It's an international standard which helps the organization demonstrate the compliance, build the stakeholder trust, and more important, have a systematic approach. From any example of that, let me give example. This company using a AI. Okay, this company have a AI governance. How can you prove to the market that you have a AI governance? Is it okay? Can you post a poster outside? Hey, we are AI governance, AI governance, AI governance. Or can we do a marketing? We are AI governance, AI governance. What do you think? Based on this activity, will customer trust? Will regulator trust? My question is that just publishing a poster outside of the company that we are AI, AI, AI. Can you do that? No, we can't do that. You have a AI governance. There should be some external benchmark you need to introduce. And that external benchmark is basically ISO 4201. Is it clear? Because when we say AI governance, we ensure, listen carefully, okay, it's a very important part. Ensure through a policy, procedures, and controls. Okay, I repeat again, AI governance, you ensure through a policy, procedure, and control. And this, you basically provide the outcome based on the ISO 4201 certification. You have a knowledge, I have a knowledge. You have a skill set, I have a skill set. Is it clear? And we ensure we have all the knowledge. But how can we demonstrate on the market? By having a certification. The basics are clear now. You're doing already this from last 5 years on AI. But now there is a benchmark was introduced which provide the assurance about this outcome. Is this clear? Now, what the AIMS does? First thing what AIMS does is it establishes the framework about the policies, roles, principles, and everything. Second, it control the entire AI lifecycle, how you design the AI, how you develop the AI, how you retire the AI and all that, which include the model training, testing, validation in a more proper manner. The third most important part, if you're preparing for any kind of a certification on AIGP or AISM or AIA, you really need to understand this important part. Because in AI, what is the fuel? What is the most important fuel to run the AI? What is the most important fuel for the AI? Data. And we need a data governance. So you need to have a data quality, data provenance. Provenance talk about tracking and all that. Is it clear? Here we're going to start that. Don't worry. Okay. So and model is the most important brain of AI, right, team? Model is the most important brain of the AI. Okay. So that's something we have to look for. Now, when you're talking about the AI metrics, we also look for the human oversight because AI governance talk about the human oversight. We define when and how the human will intervene, in which condition we need to intervene the human. Initially, without governance, AI is simply providing an output. But now we need to understand in which particular stage I need to involve the AI. It implement the override mechanism and it can also define when to control, when not to control. And this is a live example happened in 2022. There was a autonomous car in US which actually hit the pedestrians and there was no control on that. So now we need to understand when to control and when not to control. We can define that kind of a thing that shows a good governance. So that's mean we can prevent the full autonomous decision. We can decide. If you take example in a car, okay, if you buy any SUV and all that, there is one option called as a cruise control. Yes or no? But can you able to take control of the cruise control in a second? Yes, you just need to press the race and automatically you can take control over the car. Yes or no? Now, what if you enable the cruise control and you cannot control the later? Is it a concern? There's a cruise control option is there. Na? You press it, it automatically drive. Now tell me something, if there is no button, there's no way to take control, then it's gone, right? Same with AI also. If AI start giving an output for everything and you don't have any kind of a control, it can backfire. So AI governance says that at what particular stage we need to define the control. Okay, so especially in the case of high critical AI solutions, which is used for healthcare, national safety, or human safety, we need to involve the human oversight. Along with that, AI governance or AIMS was introduced to systematically manage the risk. I will show you the template. Okay, and along with that, you can able to perform the AI impact assessment. What is that? I have a dedicated slide for that. We just are in an introduction right now. Make sure AI management system talk about the transparency, explainability. What is the meaning? We need to document how the AI system make a decision. What is the source? What is the parameter? So if I say 1 plus 1, 1 plus 1 is 1 plus 1 is 2. But how you form 2? What is the source? What is the formula you are using? Is it important to understand? Definitely. We should know that the reason behind that. So explainability is mean you're giving a justification. And what is the source from which giving justification? That's called transparency. And you will be surprised to know that if you're going for an audit, this is the most important foundation we have. And that is the only factor which build the trust. How many agree? And do you know, like when the deep learning was introduced, sorry, this what is called DeepSeek. DeepSeek was the first who introduced the concept of transparency. Do you notice when you search in DeepSeek, it provide it in the backend, it show you the list of sources from which it's searching. ChatGPT till now it's not providing. It's providing in the outcome. Same with Gemini also. So transparency is what? What is the source? What is the context? And explainability what? The formula they are using. And the last important part is a continuous improvement, which is basically the talk about how to improve the AI and all that. And all these things are basically achieved with the help of AIMS. It all this include in the AIMS. So 4201 was published in 2023, which is developed by ISO, IEC, JTC S42, and it was a groundbreaking standard, which is also help you to seamlessly integrate with the other system. So in ISO 4201, we have following sections. Okay. I just want to understand how many of you already completed the 4201 training in the past. That's fine. I'm not going to ask the question. I just want to understand things. Okay. Let's discuss because this is the most important perspective you need to understand. Is it clear? So when we say clause 1 to 3, okay, these clauses are not auditable. Okay, they are not audit for certification because they are a background. Okay, so they are basically a basic just to get the visibility. But when we're talking about clause 4 to 10, okay, 4 to 10 is the most important part. Okay, and you need to obtain this for certification. It cover all the requirement. You need to have a certification. This is the actual AIMS requirement. You must, I repeat, you must implement, and auditor will test everything. Next is called as a Annexure A. Now, what is Annexure A? Annexure A having a 39 reference control. Okay, you must review this control and decide which apply to your organization. Do I need to implement all the 39 controls? Not necessary. If you have a justification, you can do that. For your information, this lead to the output in a SOA. SOA stands for Statement of Applicability. During a risk treatment, we take a control reference from this only. So far clear? So Annexure A is nothing. It is a reference control. These control decide which risk need to be treated, and output is usually called as a SOA, which showing the applicability, justification, and evidence. I will show you the template for that. Then we have a Annexure B. Annexure B is also normative, and it help you to interpret your Annexure A actually, how to implement it properly. So auditor actually will often check if your approach is aligned with the guidance or not. So when we're talking about, there is a one statement called as a normative. Normative is nothing. It is all about establishing or prescribing a standard. That is called as a normative. Okay, it's just an English word we give. Is it clear? Like we called this one example like have you heard about the name called Butterly lentils? buttery lentils. It's called dal makhni. So if I say dal makhni, you will pay me 100 rupees. But if I use a word buttery lentils, you will pay 1000 rupees. This is how the English word corporate works. Is it clear? So, so this is how we say, if you don't use this word, na, the client will not pay you. Understood? So we have to use some hi-fi word. Okay. Then we have a annexure B. Okay. So annexure B talk about the implementation guidance. Okay. We need a controls, but now how we can implement the control. So this is actually annexure B used by annexure B. You will be surprised to know that it is used by auditors. Auditor often check if your approach is aligned with your guidance or not. So A talk about this is the control. Annexure B talk about how to implement the control. Am I clear? So when you buy a 4201 standard, na, it has annexure A, annexure B also. Then we have annexure C. Annexure C is the AI objective. It is used to build your objectives. It is used to build your risk sources. I'm going to cover when you're going to show you the risk assessment. So when you're figuring out the risk assessment, right, how you categorize a risk, that reference you will take from Annexure C. So Annexure C, auditor will not require you to comply with, but it is actually help you to improve the current one. Is it clear? Is it clear? But just to correct, we have a 38 controls. I'll show you. I will tell you why 𝗪𝗵𝗿 I mentioned this. Okay. And last is basically called as a Annexure D. Annexure D is a guidance on applying the, you can say, aims in a different sections, like it is helpful for tailoring your banking sector, healthcare, HR, and public sector. Is it clear? So is the basics are clear so far? Okay. Now, so this is the basic structure we're talking about in this standard. Okay. Now, next important thing we talk about is the sequence. Okay. The first step is called as establishing a context. Okay. Establishing a context. So which having a clause called 4.1, 4.2, 4.3. Is it clear? Then we have a second called leadership clause, which is called 5.1, 5. So it is 5.2 and it's 5.3. It's not 2, it's 3. Then we have a clause 3, which is called as a leadership for the risk and opportunity. And we have a planning, we have a support, we have operation improvement. Is it clear? It's not a leadership. It is all about the, because I use a Genai image. So it's basically about the risk assessment. Then we have a planning, support, operations improvement that we're going to cover. Okay. So when we say clause number 4, it is basically help you to set up the context. Okay. Context basically help with the help of leadership policies. Then we talk about the planning. Okay, this is the correct image we have. Then after planning, we need to know what are the resources we need to involve. And then we go for the continuous operations. When you're doing an operations further, we try to evaluate, and according to that, we improve. So we follow the PDCA cycle: plan, do, check, act. I repeat again, set up the scope with the help of leadership management. Then we talk about the planning, which include the risk assessment, controls, and everything. Then we need to identify what resource we need to support and implement the controls. Then we talk about the operations. And finally, we talk about the performance evaluation. That's why called plan, do, check, act. So we follow this PDCA parameter to implement in the system. So basics are clear so far. Just focus on this image. Okay, you can ignore the previous one. Now, when we're talking about when you're talking about the parameter, okay, one thing we need to understand is what is the detailed step we have. Is it clear? So if you're taking about the detailed step, the first step is called understand the context and AI, where you figure out the context and everything. Then you need to identify how many interested parties we have, because that visibility is required. Third, you define the AIMS scope. That something is part of a requirement. Then you get a sponsorship of the aims. Then you create a policy, because policy is a foundation. Then you plan your risk assessment. Okay. And then you do the implementation. The basics are clear. First, you understand the context, which include understanding the organization, what kind of a AI they're using, understand what is the current capability and desired capability, then identify parties, internal, external parties. That is basically part of a 1.2, where you map the expectations and everything. Then based on that, you define the scope. Okay, you define the scope. Scope include your boundaries and everything. Then you have a 1.4, which talk about your aims get sponsorship. This is called as a scope and everything. Now to implement that, you need to bring everyone on the same page. You need to create a AI policy. And then you will go for the risk assessment to identify what controls we need to implement. And finally, you implement all these resource controls and everything. So we're going to discuss now each and everything. Before you implement the aims in your organization, you need to first figure out what is your role in the organization, or what is that organization as a role you are introducing. Is it clear? So we have a different type of organization roles. Your company is a AI provider, your company is a AI consumer, or your company is a AI deployer. So it's very important for you to know the role before you start implementing aims in the organization. So the first important role is called as a AI provider, a platform providers delivering AI infrastructure products service to the customer. So can we say AWS cloud company are the AI providers which provide the infrastructure in which we can host the AI? They have their own controls and everything. Then we have a AI producer. AI producer is the one which is called as a developer, a designer, tester, deployer, operator, creating a AI systems. Then third, we have a AI customer, the organization user consuming AI for their operation. So if I'm running a company, I'm using a chatbot. Can I say I'm a AI customer? If I'm running a company, I'm using a chatbot for my business. Am I AI customer? Yes. Now what happened is we are using an integrator. Integrator is called as a AI partners. Is it clear? Then we have a AI subject like me. And last is basically we called as a AI authority, the policymaker, regulators, and all that. So when you're implementing the aims in the organization, you need to first figure out what is your role. Is it clear? Because until unless you don't know the role, you can't implement the aims in the organization, because roles can be vary from the organization to organization. Is this clear? Is it clear? The basics. Now, if you basically take the context, okay, of this example, okay, let's take example. We have a AWS provider. So AWS in this case is basically called as a AI provider. Is it clear? AI provider, right? Can we say AI provider? Or it can be any PaaS platform and all that. Is it clear? Now, now what happened is my company, we are the one who developed the AI solution. So we're using that infrastructure. Okay, we're building our models and all that. So they are basically called as a AI producer. I'm selling this as a solution to the customer. So they become an AI customer. Now I'm using some third party to integrate the security into that. They are my AI partner. Is it clear? And I'm using a data is basically AI subject. Is it clear? Now AI partner can be my OpenAI, LLM, data vendor, system integrators, and all that. That's something we can also use as a partner. It's up to you. Like I'm using a third party LLM. That is also the example of AI partner. Understood? An AI subject can be individual which is affected by the AI decisions. Is it clear? Now authorities like in India, we have a DPDP. In Europe, what is the authority who control the AI? In Europe, what is the name of the EU AI Act regulatory? Do you know that? Okay, we have a certification bodies. So is this clear? So you need to understand your and second thing is that EU AI Act is there, na Dilpreet? EU AI Act. So according to the act, we need to control the AI. So that is comes under the authority. Then we have this one also coming as a the live example of this DORA resilience and all that. Will it come under the authorities? Yes. Now we're going to discuss about use case. So we're going by the use case. Yeah, India Act also there. Yeah. So we're taking a use case here. Okay. And based on this use case, we are going to implement the ISO 4201 in the organization. Is it clear? So now we're taking one example here. Okay. So there is a company called Aspirin Technology, which is founded in 2019. It has a 180 staff. The location is Bangalore, headquarter is Pune, and industry is enterprise softwares, AI solution. So now what happened is we have a requirement called uh, we have a AI called Smart Assist, which is called as a Smart Assist. What is mentioned here? AI power customer service chatbot platform, deliver intelligent automate support. So this is the aspirant has built. Then we have a second called as a Talent IQ, HR analytic recruitment screening platform with predictive candidate evaluation. And the third is called Predict Maint, a predictive maintenance solution for manufacturing using machine learning. Is it clear? We are the company who develop and also deploy. Is it clear? Now, what is the concern here? We have a solution, but how to control? So current challenge is there is no formal AI governance framework, which is growing client demand for responsible AI. We look for the EU AI Act compliance, which is required for European client, and the recent bias compliance with Talent IQ is also concerned. So what is the goal is I want to achieve the 4201 certification in 12 months. The use case is clear. No formal AI governance framework. Okay. And we want to comply with EU AI Act. We need to be comply for the recent, we have a recent bias issues about the Talent IQ, which is a recruitment platform, and we need to obtain the certification to bring the uniformity. That something is basically my criteria. So what is my phase one is I need to have a comprehensive gap analysis, context, secure leadership commitment, and documentation framework. The phase two will be the planning, where we're doing a risk assessment, impact assessment, treatment. The phase three is implementation, which talk about the resource allocation, operation control and deployment, documentation system establishment. And the fourth phase is called verification, which talk about the monitoring measurement, internal audit executions, management review, and corrective actions. So we have some terminologies in ISO 4201. You should know that. Okay. So first terminology called as an organization. Okay. When you're doing a 4201, now you should know these terminologies. So first terminology is called organization, a group or person who define the function, responsibility, authority. Second is called as a top management, the management who approve the aims. Then we have a AIMS, which is a system of AI policy, objectives, process for achieving those objectives. That something is basically part of the AI management system we have. Risk is called as an effect of uncertainty. What is the difference between the risk and incident? Risk is a probability, but incident is a confirm action. Can we say? Risk is a probability, but incident is a confirm action, right? We can say like that. So when you're talking about risk and incident, okay, so we look for the effect of uncertainty, positive negative deviations. Then we talk about the controls. We talk about the competence, what knowledge, what skill we required. Non-conformity mean if the control doesn't meet the criteria. And last is corrective actions, which is action to eliminate the cause. So these are the terminology we use in the AIMS or ISMS and all that. Okay. Now there are some mandatory document you require to pass the audit. Okay. The first is called 4.3, which is called aim scope. Priority should be high. 5.2 AI policy, because that build the foundation for your why we need aims. 6.1.1, which is called action to address the risk and opportunity. 6.1.2 AI risk assessment process. 6.1.3 AI risk treatment. 6.1.4 AI system impact assessment. AI objective, evidence of competence, result of risk assessment, and non-conformity. These are the mandatory documents is required to demonstrate to pass your 4201 certification. No. Okay. AI impact assessment is required if you're having a process which having an impact on human societal demography. In that case, AI impact assessment required. What is that? We're going to cover now in the slide. We have a lot to cover. Don't worry. Now, there was a question around integration. And I've seen in a lot of sessions, in a lot of training of 4201, they miss. Can we integrate? Yes. We can see what controls are overlap and we can do that. Is it clear? So in this scenario, what happened is ISO 27001 we have used because we are using their controls frameworks to secure the AI. Data is the fuel. We have to make sure that we need to maintain the privacy. So we are using a 22701 PIMS to control the PI before feeding a data to AI system. Ensure the quality of the AI system. So we are also integrating a 9001 and maintaining a resiliency to make sure it can provide. In the case of downtime, we need a BCMS. So yes, it is good if you have these frameworks, which can basically make the AIMS more robust. Now, the first part, we're going to discuss about the clause 4. So far clear, whatever we covered, basic definitions. Now we are going to start how to implement aims in the organization. Okay. Before that, there is a one Excel sheet I want to show here. Okay. I cannot share this. Okay. The good news is that in the month of March, I'm doing a ISO 4201 practical training, and all these documents I'm going to share in that training. Is it clear? So yeah, I cannot share in the webinar, but I can give you the idea how we can drive the entire project. This is the same document that you can follow in any project. Am I clear? Now here you can see, before you execute the aims in the organization, you need to have a one project document which give you the complete idea how to start aims in the organization. Is it clear? Now in this scenario, what we did, we basically talk about, we have some activities that you need to have a sponsor approval, aim scope, inventory, identify party, context analysis, and we basically talking about the reflective clause also. Who is the contact person, so that it will save your time. You can define the start date, number of days, because by having this kind of a data, you can able to schedule your times, you can schedule your cost and all that. Is the basic clear? Then what I did, when I speak to any customer before implementing aims, I also document the project budget. What is the project budget? So I have to define the aims, project management effort, risk compliance effort. It is always good to give the breakups. So it's very important to have a breakup cost. Okay, category, people, who is the owner. Okay, sure. Okay, who is the owner, and what is the actual cost, estimate cost, notes, and everything. Is it clear? So we can have that. Then we talk about the Gantt charts. When we basically starting, this is basically called as a Gantt chart that need to define. And then we talk about the entire project dashboard. Is it clear? Let me show you again. So this is basically called as a project charter. Okay, project plan. First step, second step, third step, fourth step, fifth step, sixth step. So this is basically the step-by-step process we have. It is always good that we need to have this kind of a context. Is it clear? And then based on that, you define the project budget. Okay, because here I'm not only going for a certification, I want to do red teaming and everything. If required, we can add that cost also. And then we have a Gantt chart about the start and end date. So this kind of a document we have to prepare. We can have a better version also, but this is a clarity required. So now I want to start the aims in the company. The first thing, you need to understand the context. Now, as an English word, what is the meaning of context? I need to reply in the chat box. Context. Now, I got a task. I want to implement ISO 4201 in the organization. So the first clause, they say you need to follow 4.1. Okay, 4.1. Now listen carefully. What is happening inside and outside your organization that can change how your AI must be governed, controlled, and more important, evidence. I repeat again, when you're talking about 4.1 is asking one thing from the customer. It asking one thing from the customer. What is actually happening inside and outside of your organization that can change your AI must be governed, control, and evidence. Is it clear? So your output is not a theory. It is a short own list of issues that directly drive your AIMS scope, risk criteria, controls, and resource. Is it clear? Hello? Is it clear? Let me repeat my statement again. Okay. Clause 4.1 is asking one thing from us as an implementer. What is happening inside? What is happening outside your organization that can actually change how your AI must be governed, control, and evidence? Dilip, clear? Is it clear to everyone? With whether it can be your negative, positive. So that something is there. Now there is a legal regulatory example. Okay. There is a legal regulatory which is called EU AI Act. There's a GDPR criteria. There's a specific sector which demand my AI to be control AI. So this is my internal context or external context? That's my external context, right? Which drive my AI. Okay. Second is I want AI. Why AI? Because I want to compete in the market. I want AI. Why? Because of the technology evaluation, new capability. I want AI because I want to have a regulatory interpretations. I want AI because it helped me to have a public attitude toward the AI and expectation. And now there's a new concept was introduced called climate change. Organization also determine whether climate change is a relevant issue. So these can be the issue also. This can be driver which you need to consider when you adopting the AI in the organization. So moral of the story is that this is something you have to ask the customer. Is it clear? What is happening inside and outside your organization that can change how your AI must be governed, controlled. Because this, based on this factor only, you will control your AI. So you should know what is your context and all that. Is it clear? And how you can do that? Have a small meeting with all the attendees. Is it clear? Ask a very relevant question. Okay, I'll give an example so you get better visibility. Okay, so I had a meeting. So let's say example, this is me. Okay, this is me. I'm going to cover this. So just give me a second. So it is me. I'm the consultant. Okay, and my client is aspirant. I ask the one simple question is, in which country or region do we sell or use AI? So what are the three products AI aspirant using? Smart Assist, Talent IQ, and Predictive Mint. Is it clear? Is it clear? So I'm asking a very simple question is, in which country or region we sell this AI? So if you're selling this AI in the Europe, do we need to follow a criteria according to Europe? If I'm selling this same AI in India, do I need to follow the law of the land? Yes. So what is that? Legal regulatory. Do we have any regulated use case? If I'm into HR AI solutions, so HR comply, finance, healthcare, child, biometric, I have to look for. Then I will ask the one question is, what are the top customers? Demand. What is the expectation of customer from me? If I am the AI provided for them. If you are part of a company who sell AI solution, what is the one minimum expectation customer have from you? Let me repeat my question again. If I am selling the AI solution as a product company, what is the minimum expectation customer has? Fairness, explainability, audit evidence, security. And if I'm taking a solution, I'm also taking from my vendor. What is my expectation? Approve LLM, API model, hosting, right? And I need to ask myself also, what would the damage brand tomorrow? Biasness, incidents, and all that. So we consider these all are my external context, which can mold and control my AI. Is it clear? I have to consider all these factors. Okay. These questions are directly these questions actually map directly to the issue that matter to you. The basics are clear? Okay. Now, next is basically, it depends, Joydeep. It depends. Okay. So in my case, aspirant case, we are selling a solution in Europe. So I need to be comply with EUA Act. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to discuss Lakshmi. Second is banking client demand, explainability for compliance, competitor marketing, ethical AI, creating a market pressure, and growing public concern about the AI bias in hiring decision. This is the outcome we got. Now the next is called as a internal context. So these questions are we talking about internally? So I will ask the senior management, or I will ask the product owner or model owner in the company if I'm working for the product company. Is it clear? Do you have a clear ownership for AI decision? Do we have a data governance? Okay. Do we have a machine learning operation disciplines like versioning, retraining models, monitoring drifts, and all that? Do we have any kind of a AI incident handling process? Okay. What is the biggest AI failure? So I will ask all these questions. Is it clear? Okay. Is it clear? So these questions I will ask, which give me the idea about what is happening inside. Do you have an appropriate governance structure? What is the current capability? What are the processes? What are the cultural values, infrastructure, strategy, direction? This is also give me the visibility about the risk tolerance. Is it clear? So by having this kind of a activity, okay, so we get to know we are using this PEST technique also. Okay, you can go to Google and type PEST, political, economic, social, and all that. So strength is we have a good culture, technical expertise, depth, innovative works. But weakness is weak governance, no formal AI ethics training, understanding AI practice, limit decision making. So these kind of things we get. And because of climate change, we are promoting a third-party data center. So that something is a concern. So we got this visibility. Now what happened is we need to understand our role. I think Joydeep, this will answer your question. You need to also understand what kind of a role your organization has, because that drive your AIMS system. Is it clear? So you need to first list all the AI system what you have, analyze each system, and you need to document the justification. So that's why here you need to figure out the role. Now, smart assist chatbot. My company as a role is an AI developer and also AI provider, because we are developing also, we selling in the market. So do we have a control end to end? My question is that the smart assist chatbot which Aspirin using, they not only develop but they also sell as a solution in the market. Do I have a control end to end as an Aspirin company? Yes. Do I need to concern about more governance here? Am I accountable for most of the things? Yes. So I'm also using a Talent IQ HR platform. I'm a developer and provider also. I'm using a PredictMate. I'm a AI developer and provider also. But I'm using internal chat GPT. So according to I'm a AI customer, an AI user. I'm also using a cloud ML services. So in that case, I am a customer because I'm using a third party solution. So I have to look for these things. Is it clear? So Lakshmi, answer to your question is the first document you have to prepare is role determination matrix. Am I clear? That give the clarity. And I have seen a lot of people miss this. You need to have this document. Is it clear? So ISO 4201 required you to determine relevant interest parties, understand the requirement, and decide which requirement is basically addressed by the aims. So clause 4.2 defined about who can be impacted by our AI, who can be stop our AI, who help our AI to be run. So it's very important to figure out that. So identifying the interested parties which is relevant to aims is the next important thing you need to identify. Is it clear? Okay, so you only need two register here. You need only two documents: your interested party register and your need and expectation requirement. Is it clear? This kind of a matrix we prepare here. Okay. Now the next important thing. So here you will prepare one document which is called as a context document. Is it clear? I will show you that. So now the time we need to create a scope. It's time to create a scope. Is it clear? No, asset matrix is different and asset inventory is different. Look. So you need to define the boundary for your AIMS. It means which AI system, location, business unit, roles, life cycle stages are covered and what need to be reviewed. Is it clear? So I will always start with the AI system. What AI system we have? We already get a visibility. Second, I will also get a visibility about the organization unit, because your scope statement define what in and what out. It's very important for us to have this. Is it clear? So I will show you an example. Okay. Recently I did that. So I will show you one example. Now here you can see for every AI system, we need to answer 4 questions. Is it clear? First, if it is in production or use in real decision, if yes, include. Does it impact because I have seen a lot of people struggle how to scope, what need to be included in the aims. So this will answer your doubt. Whether we are using in the production, will that AI use for real decision? Yes, then it will be part of a scope. Does it impact people regular decisions? It will be in the scope. Does it use for PI data? Include. Would it incident here the damage reputation? Include. If system is experimental only, not for real discussion, not to include. So it will answer a question how we can figure out the scope. So now you can choose what business unit and locations are cover. In most companies, I will tell you, in most companies, what we do is scope is basically all about all business that build, deploy, and use AI system, and all location where those system operate. Simple cheat sheet. If you want to figure out the scope, all business unit that build, deploy AI system, part of a scope, and all location where those systems operate, which can be legal, security, and all that. So in this scenario, we are talking about this matrix. Now, this is how the scope look like. Okay, so let me show you the scope document. Okay, so some questions you need to ask here. Okay, start with AI inventory, define the filter, decide your organization boundary, and step 4 is decide your role. So can I show you a template how it look like, so you get a visibility about how the document look like? Just give me a second. So this is called as a context document. Okay, it is created based on the internal and external context. Can you see that? So we use pastel here, like organization roles, document, climate change. What is the external context? The political will impact, economic will impact, social will impact, technological impact, legal impact, environment impact. regulatory impact, competitive, and then we have internal issues. So this is how we need to create a document. Now I will show you how the scope statement look like. This is how the scope statement. Okay, so if you basically take the example, I have a one new version of scope statement which I recently prepared. This is the more refined version. Make sure every document should have a heading, name of the company. Okay. And then it's very important to have a document control because it is basically used for track the integrity. Whenever you're changing the document, you need to have this kind of a version control. Then we have to give a justification. What is the purpose of this document? This document defines the scope. So when auditor come for an audit, he get a clarity about what he reading. Is it clear? And we're giving a clause requirement. Now here we're talking about the scope. I copy paste the same from a clause that aims aspirant cover the development, deployment, governance of AI system using a B2B. The scope is basically include all the things. So scope element is there. Organization, business activity, AI systems. What are the systems we have? We include. What are the locations? And all this location get audited. Okay. What are the employees and AIMS role? Our AIMS, in our case, our role are the AI solutions provider, operator, and integrator. Now, this is my organization units. AIML engineering team, software development team, data. These all are part of audit because they all directly involved in building the AI systems. Okay, headcounts, aims, roles, and key responsibility. Geographical scope, it is not mandatory, but good to have. Then these are the system inventories. Is it clear? Talent systems, risk radar, customer pose and all that, all type purpose. This is the past data. Based on that, we document the risk, what customer set. Third-party AI system, you need to add in the scope if they're part of the product. And then we have a AI system inventory summary, which talk about detailed system. It is very important for you to add the third-party AI systems if they're directly indirectly part of the product. Then the next important thing, the process. It is very important to document what is the process through which you're building an AI. Is it clear? And then we also document the AI governance process. We also document what is exclude so that you should not have any kind of a surprise for the customer, auditor, sorry. What are the external interface, internal interface that has been documented, who are part of governing committee, key aims roles. So this is basically scope visualization we have, and this is the approval process. So this is the document you need to prepare for aims scope. It's up to you. You don't want to make it fancy, add the location, add the inventory, that is also fine. You don't need to document the justification of exclusion. So it is up to you how you want to create that. Is the basics are clear? So I got the understanding about what is a scope we have. Now I have to see, okay, this document you are showing for the, yeah, so aspirant, the case study we are taking, and this is the same I'm going to share in my ISO 42001 session implementation, which I'm starting in the month of March. So when you're talking about the next step, we called as a gap analysis. So we done with the assessment, we got the visibility, we got the insights. Now the next part is that we need to understand what we have and what we need to implement. So now we have to start with the gap analysis. I'm not part of pre-sales, guys. I'm sorry, but it's part of process. So I'm really sorry we have taken the 2 minutes of that. So now we got the scope. We got the scope, and here the scope is what? Talent management system, the locations and everything. Is it clear? Now we need to see what we have and what we need to implement. So that's why we have to do the gap assessment. Is it clear? So when it comes to the gap assessment, okay, Vikas, just focus here, man. I will answer everything. Don't worry. Okay. So when we're talking about gap assessment, what we understood, we have a policies, we have a risk management framework, we have a competence record, we have a document control system. The gap that we identify is that dedicated AI specific policy is missing, risk criteria was not there, AI impact assessment is missing, and statement of applicability of AI is completely missing here. The area which required a modification is AI specific risk assessment, integrations, refinement, and adaptation. So that's something we have to look for. So we need to have a detailed gap analysis report, which basically provide the context of the system. This is how the gap assessment tool we follow. Again, it is a part of my training. So what I did, I documented all the clause of ISO 42001. Sushant, clear? And I asked all this question. Do you have the context of AI? Do you have a leadership commitment? Do you have a policies? Do you have a roles? Do you have any area to address this opportunity? So this is basically called as a gap assessment. I asked these questions. Is my screen visible? And based on that, I basically figure out what is missing. In some companies, what happen is based on a risk assessment they do. Is it clear? But here, what I did, I picked the clause, and based on clause, I basically do this assessment, and I can be able to see the dashboard. So this document I will share in my session. Don't worry. Is it clear? So this gap assessment we do based on a clause 3 to 10 or 4 to 10. Is it clear? Now it's time to establish the aims in the system. What is aims? As I said, organization using a process to establish, implement, maintain, and improve the AI management system, where we're establishing a framework, we implement, we maintain, and overall we continuously improve the system. So for the clause 4, the summary is that we need a context analysis report, we need a role determination matrix, we need to know what are the interested parties, what is the scope statement and process map to pass the clause 4. Now it's time to implement the aims in the organization. Without leadership support, we can't implement aims in the organization. Is it clear? Without leadership support, we can't implement the aims in the organization. Is it clear? So the first part is called we need a management support. Is it clear? We can include Dilpreet. Good to have. Okay. So when you're talking about the leadership commitment and all that, okay. So ISO 4201 required the visible active leadership functions. Is it clear? That something is part of a requirement. So here what happened is, okay, I have a question for everyone. Even you go for 27001, even you go for 4201, we called as a clause 5.1 about management support. Okay. Is the management support is the first thing or 5.2 is the first thing? We need a policy first, which is a 5.2 clause, or we need a 5.1, which is a management support. But if you go by the logic, 5.2 make more sense. 5.2 make more sense because without policy, how can you drive? How many agree? Yeah, this is the catch. So that catch I want to discuss now. If you go by the ISO 4201 clause, they say top management shall demonstrate the commitment. And they're saying that ensure your AI policy, AI objective established. So it means 5.1 say we need this. 5.1 say we need this. And 5.2 you create. Is it clear? Hello. 5.1 basically talk about you need this. Is it clear? We need to have. So policy is the foundation of the governance. Is it clear? That is why 5.1 say first establish the direction. I will approve the policy if you create. Make sure you integrate the aims in the business process. Fine. Please allocate the budget, people, process tool for effective implementation. Fine. Communicate the AI in a proper manner. Fine. Ensure we should have accountability and drive the improvement. This context should be come from a management. Is it clear? So top management can approve the decision that policy should be exist and it become a mandatory. And that is why based on this, we have a sign AI policy, we document the budget, we meet the attendance record. For this now we working on the initiatives. Is it clear? So according to aspirant, CEO will sponsor the AIMS initiative, CTO will chair the AIMS steering committee, and AIMS progress report will have in a quarterly board meeting. Is it clear? So AI policy, AI objective need to be established. Okay, I understood. So what is the relation between these two clauses? Listen carefully. See, 4.1 clause talk about the context, regulatory, reputation, vendor dependency. On the other side, clause 5 say commitment. We will govern what you say for this context issue. 4.2 say interested parties, internal, external interested parties. Fine. 5.2 of the clause 5 say fairness and all that for those interested parties. 4.3 talk about scope and AI. 5.3 talk about the roles to manage the scope and AI. 4.4 talk about the process mapping. And to manage that, we need owners and everything. So this is how the clause 4 connect with the clause 5. Is that clear? Now we need to create a policy. As I said, policy is the foundation for any governance. Hey guys, we need to use AI in a proper manner. We need to use AI in an effective manner. We should not misuse AI. We should not upload any kind of information in the AI. So AI policy is the starting point of AIMS. How many agree? Because when we're talking about building a AIMS program, without policy, you cannot drive anything. Is it clear? So what is the definition of policy? Your policy is the cornerstone. It's a foundation. Is it clear? So policy mean it should have an organization purpose. Second is it provides the framework for setting an AI objective. That is also very important. It reflects the commitment. How can we say management is interested in AI? How can we say management showing initiatives or showing emotions about the AI? Approval of the policy. If policy approval is there from management, it shows they are very serious about the AI. So policy will be distributed by the document information by email or communicate with the organization. Is it clear? So policy should include the purpose first, why the policy exists. Then we talk about the guiding principle. Policy should talk about the commitment. It talk about the framework, talk about the responsibility. And more important, it talk about the relatability, how this policy relate to the other policies. Is it clear? Make sure policy need to be reviewed annually. And most important part is approval is required. So let me show you one example of AIMS policy. Is my screen is clear, visible? So this is my AI policy. Now, if you notice, we have copy paste the clause here. What is the purpose of introducing this policy? Why? Because it defines the commitment, principle, compliance, EUA Act, and it build the stakeholder for talent lens, incidents and all that. And this policy, so what is the meaning of scope? Gopinath, we're going to cover, don't worry, man. We have all this topic to cover. It's not even part of the aims, but if you get a time, we'll cover. So when you're talking about scope is what? This policy applicable for whom? It's policy applicable for all the AI system. So make sure all this development engineering team will follow this policy and based on that build the AI solutions. Is that clear? When I say, hey guys, every system must be protected with the password, my first question is where it's applicable. So now when the building engineering team, development team building the AI, they will follow this scope. They are part of the scope. So they know, okay, we have to follow this policy when we're building an AI. It is always good. Okay, what I did for the company is I follow the OECD principle. Okay, because principles are very important because that is the talk about ethics. So transparency, fairness, privacy, safety, I take those principles and I map that principle in the policy. Because problem is that, we have a people who working on the operation level. Is it clear? We have a developer, we have an engineering team, we have a solution consultant, we have a consumer. Okay. As a senior management, what is my expectation? My expectation is that the AI which we are introducing in the company, I want them to use this AI responsibly. Is it possible for a senior management to go to everyone and educate them about the AI? Tell them about do and don't? No. So policy is the only document we have by which we can able to bridge this gap between the AI and this function. Is it clear? Is it clear? Yes, every revision. The policy need to be reviewed annually, or in the case of major change, everything need to be reviewed and approved from the senior management, or they're giving a sign of authority to CTO. So prohibit use, we have to define. So you are introducing here acceptable use AI functions. Regulatory compliance, we have to document. Okay, we are in my case, one of the customer was based on in Europe, so we added the EU AI Act requirement also. Governance structures, roles and responsibility, AI risk management. I don't need to create a separate AI risk management policy. I introduce here only guideline, training and awareness, monitoring, policy violation, policy review. So this is something is part of the policy document. Is it clear? So this is the structure. So you make sure your policy should have a purpose, scope, principle, commitment, and more important, responsibility. Now, next part is called as a 5.3. Who does what? Policy was created, but who does what? So we need to document the roles and responsibility. Is it clear? So we need an AIM sponsor, CEO, steering committee, governance lead, system owner. So the document that we create, okay, the document that we create is AIMS organization chart. Okay, roles and responsibility metrics and appointment letter. These are basically act like evidence to justify your 5.3 because roles are important. Now I have a question for everyone. Why we need a role? Why we need this AIMS organization chart document in the company? This chart will basically provide the accountability. This chart is basically providing me the visibility. This chart is providing me the authority relationship. So you need to have this responsibility metrics. Okay, and it is basically also required for the audit. So what we did so far, we set up the context, we set up the scope, support of the scope done by the help of policies. We also cleared the criteria of the organization chart and we talk about the manual approval. Now we're going to plan. I need to implement the aims. But can we start from zero? No. We will first address the risk and opportunities. Is it clear? Why? Because by this we can provide the assurance the aims will achieve the results, prevent the incidents, and improve the things. So that's why we will start with the risk assessment first. Risk assessment is all about analyze the impact, prioritize, and suggest the control. Is it clear? Yes, it is very important to define the roles clearly. So what we're doing is we distinguish between the acceptable, non-acceptable risk. Okay, we're performing a comprehensive AI risk assessment. I will show you the template. And we're conducting an effective AI risk treatment, and we're assessing an AI system impact for the individual society. Is it clear? And risk criteria, a risk appetite, you will take from a clause 4.1. And what was a clause 4.1? What was the clause 4.1? Context. Remember context, because context is the one which drive what is the risk tolerance of the organization. Is it clear? So that's why I'm sure there was a questions will become. So I bring this statement again. So 4.1 say aspirants issue EU client has a AI expectation. BFSI want explainability and bias risk in the talent IQ, LM prompt injection in support bot. So who is my interested parties here is client, which is based on EU and user and all that. So scope statement we have added. So this give me the context about the risk appetite. Now based on that, I have a leadership commitment. I approve the aims, define the principle. Now it's time to execute. Is it clear? Now it's time to execute. So that's why we are creating a risk criteria. Now, when we're talking about risk is calculated by the likelihood and impact. What is likelihood? How likely the AI can failure will happen. And if it happen, what is the impact? Is it clear? Hello? The first part is called likelihood because risk is measured by likelihood and impact. Is it clear? What was the context? What if, listen carefully, guys. One of the product is we had is one of the product what we has. Let me bring the case study again. Now I have to ask you this way, okay? I don't want to go by theory. I want to introduce that case study again. Give me a second. We had a talent. Now you just need to ask yourself, okay, context is what if your smart assist failed? Do you have a capability? Do you have that tolerance to handle the loss? What if the talent IQ unable to screen the platforms? What if the maintenance is basically compromise the human safety? Can we run AI with zero assumption that it will not go negative? No, right? So context is the one which helped me to establish a risk criteria. Is it clear? That's why when we're talking about risk is measured by likelihood and impact. Okay, so likelihood mean how likely the AI failure will happen. How we calculate likelihood? Threat multiplied by vulnerability. Okay, threat is the probability. Threat is basically like a action. Vulnerability is the exploitation. So what is the chances happening? And if it happen, what is the impact? Okay, let me give an example. Very simple example. I have a limited data set. So limited data set is a threat or it's a vulnerability. Limited mean what? Less mean what? Weakness. Hello. Can we say? Limited is what? We say a limited control. So limited control is also enough. So limited data set is what? So threat is something external, internal that can exploit the weakness, right? Huh? So when we're talking about limited data set, is there a vulnerability? We have a limited data. Okay, and what is a threat? Biasness. What is the impact? Trust issue. Right? Yes or no? So if you basically take the example, let me bring the statement. Wait. Threat is something external, internal, right? So bias amplification, model drift, adversarial input, regulatory. It can be happen. Vulnerability is basically weakness, poor data quality, which is also a limited data set, limited data missing and all that. Is it clear? Does it make sense? See, I believe in simple examples. So when I ask you this, you get struggled. So anything which is present in nature is a vulnerability. When it is dynamic in nature is a threat. Okay. So for me, I need to identify the threat. A threat is basically that biasness. Vulnerability is basically I have a different limited data. The impact is basically high, low, medium. If I'm using this AI for the okay, so if I'm using this AI assessment for the medical device, I have to be more careful. Or if I'm using this AI for a general user, which is more critical for me, in which condition the risk tolerance will be very, I need to keep it low. In the case of healthcare, I need to keep the risk tolerance low. Or in the case of general user, in the case of risk tolerance low will be in the case of medical because I cannot take 1% of a risk. Is it clear? So based on this, we define the likelihood and impact. Am I clear? Hello? Is this clear? So if you take the example of the talentless, okay, if you take example of the talentless, okay, so we taking example of talentless. Training data sets has a limited representation of women and minority candidate. What is the threat? Algorithm learn bias patterns, systematically disadvantage certain group. And what is the impact? Qualified and rejected, legal exposures and all that. So based on the context, you create your likelihood scale and impact scale. Am I clear? I won't spend too much time on this, but I just want to give you the context here. Is it clear? So you set up the criteria in 6.1.1. And please note down one important thing. When we're talking about likelihood, likelihood is always measured based on 12th month of operation. Likelihood is always measured based on the 12th month of operation. It's a very common standard. Okay, how many of you not aware about that? That's completely fine. Even you go for ISO 27001, even you go for the 4201, even you go for 22301. Likelihood is always measured over the next 12 month of operation or in AI per release cycle. I repeat, per release cycle if you deploy frequently. Without this, your probability number become meaningless. Is it clear? So when you're scoring the likelihood, okay, you need to have at least one evidence source. What is the past incidents, monitoring the signal defects, test results, volume change rate, everything you need to have. And when you document impact, especially in the 4201, impact will be categorized into three parts: your organization level, your individual level, and your society. So when I say organization level, any example of organization level? Money, contract, compliance, reputation, and operations. Is it clear? Now, if you take example of individual examples are unfair, okay, harm, privacy, and society level is what? Systemic bias, misinformation, and public harm. Does it make sense? And it is all depending upon what kind of a AI product you want to use. So 6.1 and 1 clause say that how do you measure the risk? And this is how you measure the risk. Hope you got some new insight today on this criteria. And there's a dedicated video on YouTube I have is how to build risk management process. Is it clear? Now, next is basically called as a risk calculation. We did the criteria that lower risk will be 1 to 4, higher risk will be 10 to 15. So I don't want to get into this, but for the passing audit, you need to have a AI risk criteria document that you need to have. Now the next part is called risk assessment process. So we get the context. Now 6.1.2 they say your risk assessment must be aligned with your AI policy. And what was the AI policy? You should not do discrimination. You should not have a biasness. This is where the people does mistake. Please, 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 just for a copy paste, don't create a policy. Because based on the policy only, you will do the risk assessment. Am I clear? Hello. I'll give you an example of that. Okay, because this is something from a clause only. Okay, listen carefully. Before you assess a risk, you need to confirm what is the AI system you have. Is it clear? What is the AI system trying to achieve? Trying to achieve. What is the AI system trying to achieve? Is it clear? What is the objective? Your objective was what? Privacy. Your objective was reliability. Your objective was transparency. Is it clear? And what was your acceptable risk level? Risk criteria, which you already defined. So your risk assessment must, so example, like when I say I'm using a talent IQ software for resume screening. Okay. So what if it breach the PI? So it will breach the privacy. It is not providing me reliable results. So are we saying our product is not going as per the policy? Can we say? Policy say that you need to achieve, but your product is not achieving. And what if they don't achieve? So you're getting a point. So question is how to start risk assessment. Start with your objective. What your policy say? When we say our company have a budget, is it clear? Your company budget is your risk tolerance. And based on that only you drive your risk criteria. And then based on risk criteria, you do risk assessment. Same like now, when you're starting a risk assessment, risk criteria, first you need to understand risk appetite of the company. Is it clear? So alignment is very important. Second is consistency. Different business department doing a different risk assessment. Is it a good thing? Two different team doing the different risk assessment. No, two different teams should assess the same AI system with the same thing. It will be good. So we need to have a standard template, same likelihood, impact score, and everything. Is it clear? Third, we need to identify risk that is basically used to achieve the AI objectives. Fourth is analysis. And more important, the fourth most important part, we talk about the evaluations audit. Is this clear? So these are basically the risk assessment process we have. So according to 4201, you need to understand these type of risk. Is it clear? Okay. Accuracy, performance, transparency, security, data quality, operational. So let me show you the risk assessment template. Okay. Yeah. So is my screen visible? I'm going with a very simple technique. Okay. So this is my risk criteria. Okay. I already defined. This is based on the risk tolerance of the organization. Clear? I defined the likelihood. Okay. And this is the criteria. Now I am doing a risk assessment. Do you notice a risk, this category? This is my AI system. It can have a biasness and fairness. Threat can be gender bias in a hiring decision, vulnerability, historical data, existing control, basic testing. We have. Now, might be you have a question, Prabh, from where you got this, right? Hello? Now, here you can see 4201 Annexure A. Okay. They have all the documented risk, and I use those same risk control metrics to define as a risk category. Am I clear? You don't need to go for fancy risk. 4201 Annexure A or B, they talk about the risk metrics. Use those same risk category and organize all the AI system into that category only. Because your category is what? Biasness, fairness, data quality, privacy, security, and we have mapped the same thing here. Can you see that? Is it clear? So first we identify the impact on overall, then we will see what is the impact on the humans. This is only come into the picture if it's basically the involve the humans or regulatory for high regulations. Then we're talking about the risk treatments. And this is where we mapped with the controls. Is it clear? Okay, so that something is part of a requirement. Then we also talk about the cost status. Okay, Chief AI Officer, Jatin. Then we talk about the dashboards. Okay, because this is my risk by category based on a 4201. And finally, we have a control reference. Is it clear? I repeat again. Let me show you. Okay. We have a risk criteria. It is created based on the risk appetite of the company. Is it clear, team? Then we have a likelihood impact, the benchmark. Then we have a risk assessment. Risk 01, talent lens. What is the risk category? I'm giving a bias and fairness. The threat is gender bias in hiring decisions. What if we have a gender bias in hiring decision? Vulnerability because of historical data. Do we have any existing control? Yes. For the evidence, it's showing me a existing some control basic testing is there. Likelihood of this exploit is 4. Impact is basically 5 based on a past data. Risk score is 24 into 20. So risk level is critical, and assessment date we have to give. And then we're talking about here is risk treatment. This is my risk treatment, and I map this with the controls, annexure A. This is the annexure A controls, and we're talking about the cost. The basics are clear. If you're looking for more detailed diagram, I have one more diagram, one more Excel sheet which I follow for those customer who want to know from zero. So for that, I create this one. I started with the context. Then I talk about the AI inventory, what inventory we have. This is something I'm going to share in my paid session. This is the risk criteria. Okay. Then I talk about the risk register. Then I'm talking about the treatment plan. This is my treatment plan. Okay. Then we have an impact assessment. Then we have a monitoring review. This is a monitoring review, KPI and all that. And then we have a change log. Is it clear? So what I did in this document, yeah, this will look easy. So end goal is to make it easy. Is it clear? So it's up to you. You can figure out what are the top risks we have, and according to that, you can map. Is it clear? Now, one thing you need to understand, listen carefully. When you're doing a risk assessment, if you involved, now here what happened is when you're talking about the AI system impact assessment. Okay. So one thing we need to understand here is AI system impact assessment come into the picture. Okay, AI system impact assessment come into the picture when we're talking about from a human perspective. Now, Prabh, what is the difference between the risk assessment and impact assessment? Listen carefully. Risk assessment talk about what can go wrong for the business and system. Am I clear? Risk assessment is basically include the 3-step process. Identification of risk. Second is basically called as a analysis of the risk. And third is basically called as a evaluation of the risk. Is it clear? Risk analysis, qualitative, quantitative. This is basically risk assessment. But second is called as an impact assessment. Impact assessment basically talk about who can be harmed and how. Am I clear? Hello? Risk assessment talk about what can go wrong. What can go wrong. Is it clear? But impact assessment, is it clear? I'm here talking about impact assessment from the human perspective. What can be harmed? Is it clear? And how? If my AI is failed. Is it clear? Is it clear? So if you go by the sequence is this. First, we do clause 6. This is where the risk and impact fit. Then establish risk criteria. Okay. Then we define the impact assessment method. Then we talk about the ultimate risk assessment process, and then we run the process. So risk criteria talk about rule. Impact assessment talk about human harm inputs. Risk assessment talk about the scoring decisions, and treatment talk about the control. So is this clear now? The basics? Hello? Is it clear? So if I go back, AI system impact assessment, it is also important in your AIGP exam. It is also important in your AISM exam. Is it clear? So ISO 4201 says impact assessment must be fed into risk assessment. So you cannot ignore the human impact. And for the certification compliance reason also, this is very important. Okay, so you must have a formal process to assess the potential. So when you're talking about the impact assessment, so we need to first understand the technical context. That's a very important part. Okay, which consider technical implementation capability. Then we have a societal. What is the evaluation of the border, the societal implication. And the third, we're talking about the applicable jurisdiction. So one thing we need to understand is 4201 says impact assessment results must be fed, okay, into your risk assessment. Is it clear? That something is part of a requirement. So we need to see the result of risk assessment must be considered as 6.1.2. Without that, if you're doing that, you might fail the audit. Is it clear? Because AI has to affect individually on the HR, credit, health, safety, we have to consider. So whenever any new kind of a system you're introducing, we have to see the impact. Is it clear? So these are basically part of your requirement. Okay, so you take the engine, establish the criteria, you define the impedance method, you do the risk assessment, you run the SIA and assessment on top of the system, and then you finally treat that particular risk. So now the question is how to treat the risk. You choose the option, you determine the control from where? From the annexure A. Identify if control beyond the annexure A. If yes, take the approval for that. And next is basically we talk about the guidance. Then the next point is you have to create a SOA, statement of applicability. Okay, some people what they do, they create a SOA initially itself. Is it clear? So SOA is very important. Okay, so let me show you what is SOA. How this document look like. So we have an organization name, we have given the scope entry, and then we have a document approval. Is it clear? This is the SOA summary. So we have divided in the annexures. Okay, AI policies, things and all that. Because after doing a risk assessment, we don't need to start from zero. We have to see what current controls they have and what we need to implement. So this is how I'm creating a SOA. A.2 AI policy, description of the control, applicable, yes. Justification, it required for AIM. What is the current status implemented? How we did that? By having a policy. What is an evidence? Readiness, control owner, and auditor note. Is it clear? This is how you need to create a SOA. And this is how we get the complete information. The top risk, the applicable control, what is the current status, and this is what. This SOA is basically talk about the implementation of a control. Is it clear? So SOA, we are creating post risk assessment because risk treatment talk about the control. In some companies, what they do, they instead of starting with the policy, and I think they start with directly clause 6. It is completely up to you. Is it clear? You can skip the clause 5 policy and all that, and directly start with risk assessment, prepare the SOA with gap assessment, and implement the control. I'm just following a webinar, so we're just following the sequence. Is it clear? First, we create a risk register, and then we create a SOA. Is it clear? And then we formulate the plan and approval of the plan. So when we're talking about risk treatment, we have a 4 type of risk treatment: avoid, modify, share, and retain. Avoid basically mean you eliminate the risk. How? Example, unacceptable risk that cannot be adequately controlled. So you discontinue the business which bring risk to me. So that's why I want to avoid that business which bring new risk to me. Second is we implementing the control to reduce the risk. We sharing with the insurance company, or we accepting a risk because the enough control is not there, it's increasing a cost for me. So these are the different type of treatment we have. Is it clear? So this is how we are creating. So let's say example, aspirant treatment for talent IQ bias risk. So we modify by implement the bias testing. We introduce the human review, we modify, and we conducted the annual assessment. So that is basically part of the function. Is it clear? Now the next part is after treatment is implemented, we reduce the risk. And this is the final SOA we have created. This we have discussed. So far clear? Now it's time. I need to document the AI objectives. Is it clear? AI objectives. So AI objective provide the measurable target. So I have implemented the control. Now what is next? I want to track, are we achieving the objectives or not? So what should be first criteria to align? Is my objective is met or not? What is the first criteria? Make sure your objective should be mapped with the policy because policy is strategic in nature. Then you need to introduce a KPI. Is it clear? Then you have to see the applicable requirement. Then you have to monitor, and most probably you have to communicate the results. Is it clear? So let me show you how this AI objective look like. This is how you see achieving a 4201 certification status, zero bias rated, 100% ASF ethics trained. So these are the objectives has been defined, and we can create this kind of a document for that, which is called as a AI objective plan deliverables. Now, if any changes are required in the controls, it need to go through a change management process. Is it important to have a change management process? And I need to reply in the chat box, what is the ultimate goal of change management process? So we can able to track the accountability, who introduce a change and how they introduce a change. Is it clear? So it is very important. You need to have this documented control process, and that process is called as a AIMS change management process. Is it clear? So you will define the process, how you introducing a change, how you assess the impact, how you allocate the resource, and how you going to verify. All these things need to be documented in one process document. The process document is called as a AIMS change management procedure. You know how the change management work? You need to create a procedure for that. If you're having a ISMS 27001 change management procedure, same you can use for the 4201 also. Is it clear? The ultimate goal of this document is to demonstrate that you have a change management process in place. Is it clear? Now, I'm assuming we have defined the controls, we define the objectives. What is the next thing is required to implement the controls? Hello? We need a people, we need a process, we need technology, we need a resource. So that's why 7.1 say to support the risk treatment, we need a resource, we need a people. Is it clear? But along with the people, we need a competence, yes or no? If we have a Prabh Nair, it doesn't have a knowledge of AI, how can we implement the AI? Right? So step 7.1 talk about what resources are required, and step 7.2 talk about the competence, which is a very important part. Is it clear? So we're going to discuss now each of this in detail. So 7.1 talk about the resource. Okay. So what is the goal of clause 6? What is the goal of the clause 6? What risk and controls are needed? Yes or no? And what is the goal of clause 7? Make the organization capable to run those controls. Is it clear? Is it clear? I repeat again. Clause 6 talk about what risk need to be mitigated. And clause 7 talk about what is the organization capable to run those control. We need a people, we need a resource, we need document, we need communication. Is it clear? I have a simple question for everyone. What factor you use to decide the resource? If you want to finalize a resource, what is the factor you consider when you're finalizing a resource? What factors we will use to decide the resource? The first is called scope and size of the company. What are the level of high critical risk we have? And what is our need for ethics, capability testing tools, and everything? So here the first is human resources, financial resources, technical resources, time. Is that clear? You must determine and provide resource need for establishing. So all these things are required. How many capability skill required? Money. What is the technical thing is required, and what is the timeline? So this is one example we have taken for aspirant, that AI governance lead 1 FT, a dedicated role. System owner is required. Ethic board is required. Training budget is required. Okay, because if you want an extra A, we have a specific document called 4.2, 4.3, 4.4, and 4.5, and 4.6. All these factors are there. Okay, we need these people, but what knowledge they have? So we need a competency dashboard. Is it clear? Competency is required. Like technical team need to go through 40 hours of training. ISO Security Council has to go through 4201 training, because we need a competence. But how can you figure out the competence? First, identify what necessary competence we have. We don't need to start from zero. Identify what we have. Then verify. Then take actions. Then ask the question. Then you document. Is it clear? So that is very important for us to verify. So competency matrix is basically include AI developers, data engineers, product managers, AI governance. This is a sample we have taken. And evidence is their degree, training certificate, training completion certificates, and all that. So the document that you need to prepare here for achieving a certification called competence matrix and training record. That something is required. So that shall I show you that also sample so you get a visibility how that document look like. So what I did here is I clubbed the 7.1, 7.2 together. So can you see this? Part 1 is resource, what is resource required, and part B is competence. Okay, financial, human, infrastructure, technology. Okay, the budget, what we have spent, what is the annual budget, what is a human resource. It is subject to vary. Okay, what are the support roles, resource, and all that. Then infrastructure, because to host AI technology we have to use. Okay, and for the resource planning, monthly budget, competency gaps. What is the framework we are using? Competency domain, these are the areas I need to assess the person to understand the AI. Roles, required competency, evidence requirement, technical roles. And for all the employees, what training is required? General training curriculum overview. These all documents are required. So this is how we are creating in the entire AIMS manual. Can you see that? AIMS manual, which has all this document, normative reference, terms and definition, context, leadership, planning, and everything. I have captured everything in one document. It is mandatory for you to have this manual, okay? Because this manual give you the information about what controls you have, what statements we have. Is it clear? Manual talk about what you have. Okay. Now the next part we talk about is, so this competency matrix is very important. Okay. That need to be considered. And then we need to provide the awareness. Awareness is also very important. Okay. Awareness is very important. What is meaning awareness? Modify the behavior of the people. You heard about the recent news, just yesterday news. There was a one cybersecurity head in US upload the confidential document ChatGPT. You heard about that? It is always good to provide the awareness, do and don'ts. Is it clear? So awareness is very important for the users. The difference in training and awareness is training is improve your skill. We cannot say Indian origin, we say individual, Joydeep. Okay. Anyone can do mistake. Let's not have a country specific target. Thank you so much. Okay. Anyone can do mistake. Okay. So when you're talking about awareness, the difference between the awareness and training is that awareness modify behavior. Awareness modify behavior. Training modify skill. Is it clear? So it's very important. We need to give awareness to general users. Okay. How to use sessions and all that. Is it clear? How to use AI. So you need to be aware about the requirement like policies, okay, contributions, benefit of compliance, and implication of non-conformity. So make sure everyone should be aware about this. What is the policy says, how they can contribute to AI, what is the benefit of compliance, and the implications. So this is how we have conducted for aspirants, that we have an AI policy briefing. We send a newsletter. So auditor will ask for the sample for that. We have a department briefing. We can capture the MOM. We have an internet page of how to use AI. So the evidence for that, we use a awareness program records. Next is called as a communication. How to share this information. Okay, we define what we need to give the awareness, but how you communicate. So you have to first define the specific information to be communicated. It's very important what to communicate and what not. What is the frequency you want to set, with whom you want to communicate, and how you want to communicate. Is it clear? So here you can see AI policy, when to communicate when there's a change, applicable for all staff, how, email. So you need to have this kind of a process, and the document is called as a AIM's communication plan. Is it clear? So summary is that awareness talk about people follow the rule, and communication talk about internal, external, the message and everything. Is it clear? That something is part of a requirement. Now what next? All this activity has to be documented, because in the governance we say what you don't have, you can't prove. Yes or no? And that is the foundation. So ISO 4201 say that whatever the document you're creating, you should maintain the track version of that. What is the purpose of track versions? Integrity, confidentiality, availability. Second thing is that you need to control. And when document is not in use, okay, we have to decide what to retain. Is it clear? So your distribution, how you're distributing the parameters, how you store, what is the control of change, retention periods, protection, all this need to be have. And when the document we prepare is called as a document control procedure. Is it clear? So that something is part of a requirement. Is this clear? Now the next part is called as a operations. We have implemented all the controls. Okay, now what next? To do the monitoring. So operation is where the planning become reality. So you must implement a process. Okay, and control to identify the. So what clause 6 says? Clause 6. What is a clause 6 says? Risk assessment. Is the control has been implemented? Is it working effectively? Do we need to monitor that? Do we need to operate that? Yes. Clause 8 talk about the operation, putting your aims into the action. So we establish the criteria here. Is it clear? So you will plan and control the process which need to meet the requirement. So every AI release must have an updated risk assessment. Let's take an example. It should have results. Okay. And approval from the AI governance committee. You should have a rollback plan. So you're defining a process criteria, like every AI release, what should follow? Does it have a implemented control? Do we have a metrics for the KPI and all that, which called stage gates? And any changes required need to go through change management process. So the document is we creating is that document change management process, SOP and everything, which is part of a requirement. Then once you did the risk assessment in the month of January, do I need to do risk assessment again? Yes, it's very important that we need to do risk assessment again. So we have to perform risk assessment at plan interval or whenever there's significant changes occur. And if you have that, and if you don't able to provide the evidence, it is a non-compliance. Am I clear? So let's take example of talent IQ. So we have a data quality checks, bias testing, new data was updated in the AI system. Do I need to go for risk assessment again? After 6 months, we added some good portion of amount of data. Do I need to do risk assessment again? Definitely yes. Because there's a major portion of data has been added. Is it clear? And based on that, we have to again treat the risk. Okay, so how can we decide when to do risk assessment? Full risk assessment need to do annually. Specific assessment for the critical operations do quarterly, ad hoc as needed. And this criteria decide based on a risk tolerance of the organization. That's something we'll define. Then we move to the next part, which is called as a AI system impact assessment. Once you identify risk, you need to ask yourself, what is the impact on human? What is the impact on emotions? So you have to perform the impact assessment at the plan interval also. When there's a new geography rollout, when there's a major model change was there, when there's a new use case is there, you will do the impact assessment also. Is it clear? So reassessment trigger whenever the new AI system deployed, significant model updates. Okay. And more important, regulatory change and compliance requirement. So the document that we have to maintain is the called as a written document information for impact assessment. So this is called as a implemented annexer controls we're talking about. A.2, A.3, A.4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 things. All these controls has been implemented here. Is it clear? And priority wise, we need a policy, then we have a roles, then we have an impact, then we have a life cycle, and then we talk about the data. Now the part 7, we talk about the performance evaluation. What we implemented, we need to measure. Is it working effectively or not? So what to monitor? That's very important. So do we need to monitor the drift? Do we need to monitor the hallucination? So that need to be defined. Second is the method of monitoring, logs and everything. When to perform, weekly, monthly, daily, or when to analyze. So it's very important. You need to define this criteria. Is it clear? So what we did is we define the risk treatment effectiveness, control testing. We do quarterly. We have objective achievements. Are we achieving a right progress? We're doing monthly because we are dealing with a lot of critical AI products. So we have to document the information required as an evidence for monitoring and measurement functions, which is basically part of a monitoring measurement analysis. Ultimate goal of 9.1 is talking about is my aims is working effectively or not. And once we're done with that, we pass the audit. So audit the aims process is very important. Is it clear? So we plan the audit program, we define the scope, we select the auditor. It is a first level of audit which is done by internally. Is it clear? Then we conduct the audit, we generate the results, and we retain the evidence. So audit program define the frequency of audit, the method that we're using. Okay, the responsibility for conducting audit, which is a very important part. We have a plan requirements, and we also have a reporting requirement. So auditor must not audit their own work. So objectivity, impartiality is very important. So in ISMS, in for AIMS, we check for this particular things. Yes, we need a certified auditor. So full risk aims audit required 4 to 10. Okay, risk management, we are doing for clause 6.1, 8.2, 8.3. Internal quality control implementation we have. And audit criteria I use is 4201, policies, SOP and all that. So the document that we maintain here is internal audit program, audit procedures, audit checklist, and audit report. Is it clear? Now, once you're done with this audit, we go for the management review. Is it clear? So top management review, the aims is plan as interval. Is it adequate, sufficient? So inputs, what we take for an input review is change in the issues, change in the interested parties, and output will be, the decision to continue the aims, what the new resources has been added, and we look for the strategic direction. So these are basically part of the 9.3 management review. And review can be varied depending on what kind of AI you are using. The last part is called as a clause 10, which is called improvement. Making sure your aims are better over the time through a continual improvement. So what we're doing is when we're talking about continuous improvement, we make sure the aims will work adequately. It should be effective and it should be suitable. And improvement areas will be like decisions for management, findings, root cause, feedback, technology, regulatory. These are the parameters we have. These are sources we have by which we can improve the AI solutions. Is it clear? Because whenever something is basically fail, okay, audit finding, incident, KPI breach, so you correct it, you find the root cause, you implement the corrective actions and all that, right? So output evidence here is you need to have a corrective action logs. You need to have a RCA. You need to have a closure verifications. Because when you're doing finding and all that, we get different kind of a things. When things go wrong, you discover the non-conformity. So we take immediate actions, we evaluate, we implement, we review, and we make changes according to the aims. And the documentation that's required to pass the audit is the nature of non-conformity you discovered, the action has been taken in response, and the last part is called as a result of corrective actions. Then we're talking about the implementation process summary. So first we need a context, then approval from leadership. Okay, then we need a planning, then we need a support, then we have operations, and then we finally have a improvement. So summary was simple. We started with the context analysis. Then we identify the interested parties. Okay. Then we define the scope. We got the approval of the scope. We create a policy. We had a plan risk approach. Okay. And finally, we have a implementation. Okay. And planning.